you worry.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Jared. This is my buddy Fluff.
Hello.
We will be going over 10 recording tips.
For you.
Yes.
Number 1, don't expect to be good right away.
Yes, this is something that takes a long time to get good at.
A long time. Lots of practice. Practice really does make perfect, and there's no magical plugin or program to make you good. Simply taking time to do it will get you lots better.
Buy the best mics that you can.
It's good to have really good mics. Buy the best that you can. This is really where it's important to spend your money. Don't cheap out on mics and then buy, for example, an expensive interface or something like that.
And some mics out there that are decent, that aren't too expensive, like the Audix drum pack.
Yep, the Audix drum pack is good for general miking. It depends really what you want to do, and you need to just research. If you're going to primarily be doing vocals, I would highly recommend spending the money for a Shure SM7B.
Yes.
For example, don't use an SM58 if possible. Now, if that's all you can afford, that's totally fine. But if you have the budget, spend as much money as possible on a vocal mic, for example.
It will greatly affect your sound, and it will ultimately make your recordings much better.
Number 3, how you play greatly affects your sound.
This goes for everyone, not just guitarists, but bassists and drummers as well. I can't tell you how many times I've had a drummer in the studio and he plays his parts, say, very quietly, and then they expect this huge sound, and it's just not really gonna happen.
Don't rely on fixing it in the mix. If you want a lot of energy on your recording, you have to record it with a lot of energy, and you have to be pounding and playing your instrument as hard as you can, if that's what you're going for.
Yes. Number 4, know your parts.
If you're gonna go into a studio and pay a lot of money to be there, you should probably know your parts and not figure them out after you get to the studio.
Yes, don't waste your money, don't waste the audio engineer's time, and it will just end up being a much better finished product if you are prepared as possible.
And your bandmates won't hate you.
This is true.
Number 5, keep it fresh.
This means put new strings on your guitar, new drum heads on your drums. I've had drummers come into my studio with holes in their heads. I don't know what they expect from that, but...
new drumsticks.
New drumsticks, yes. New strings is a huge one. I'll have people come in with 2-month-old strings, they'll sound dull. Replace your strings, get all new stuff, it will affect the sound.
I actually I was at a session once where the bass player said, I don't need to tune, I tuned it 2 days ago.
And tune.
Don't be that guy.
To make sure you tune. Number 6, plugins versus live amps.
If you are on a budget, there are a lot of very good sounding plugins, including Positive Grid's Bias, IK Multimedia's Amplitude 3, and so on and so forth. But if possible, I highly recommend you use the actual real tube amp, whether you borrow it from a friend or rent it. Ultimately, if good sound is your thing, rent the real thing and don't expect the real sound to come out of a plugin.
Unless you have a very cheap amp, plugin might be the better way to go.
Sure, but if you're going for a classic 5150 sound or something like that on a metal record, do everything you can to just borrow a PV 5150. You'll thank yourself in the long run. Number 7, clean and isolated vocal takes.
Not everyone has an isolation room for vocal takes, vocal recordings, etc. But if possible, try and get into an isolated spot, whether it's a closet or a bedroom or just a really quiet, small room, because if you record in a big open room, you might get some reverb sound you don't like.
All sorts of reflections. I highly recommend a closet with the clothes still in it, and that just deadens everything. That's a great trick. And The Used actually recorded a lot of their first album like that.
Because it is a lot easier to add reverb and sounds than it is to take them out.
Yep.
Number 8, interfaces.
Know what you want. Are you going to do just vocals? Are you going to be recording an entire drum set? Or are you primarily going to be a guitar player that records the songs at home? Those are very important questions that you need to ask yourself, because that will be crucial in figuring out which interface that you want to buy. Do you need 4 inputs? Do you need 8 inputs? Do you need more than that? You want Firewire? You want USB? Spend your money on the interface. This is the primary thing I would highly recommend you not cheap out on. Number 9, you don't need Pro Tools.
everyone says that Pro Tools is the industry standard and it's the best thing since sliced bread. I use Logic. There are cheaper
alternatives. Logic is $200 and it comes with a myriad of virtual instruments on the cheap and awesome. There's also programs like Reaper.
Cubase.
And Cubase. Reaper's $60 and is a full-featured DAW that is amazing. That's what I learned on. So just make sure you explore your options and choose which DAW is best for you, and don't automatically assume someone else is going to know what you want.
I will also add, I get this question a lot. GarageBand is not really something you want to use.
That doesn't count. Yeah.
No, yeah.
GarageBand is not.
That wouldn't. It's very, very limited. But Reaper, Cubase, really good bang for the buck. And if not, I mean, Logic is good too.
Yeah. Just don't buy Pro Tools.
Number 10, be flexible and take criticism.
When you're recording, the whole point is for people to hear it, and you better be prepared for criticism because it's going to come whether you're ready for it or not.
And as far as being flexible goes, if you plan on recording other bands might have a very specific sound they're going for. They might be kind of hard-headed, as musicians can be.
What?
And just be flexible. Work with them, and that will ultimately help you in the long run. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it will help you out in your endeavors of learning how to record. If you know of any tips that you use or you think are very important, go ahead and leave a comment down below. We will check them out and maybe throw them in another video.
We'll be back. Don't you worry.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Jared. This is my buddy Fluff.